How can places like these exist? Keep watching. You may soon be asking the same question. Across deserts, volcanoes, cliffs, and ice, human life holds its ground only by adapting to forces it cannot control. Architecture redirects water, grips rock, and turns steep terrain into shelter. Faith and memory give that effort meaning. I see these remote places not as escapes from nature, but as proof that people must build from within it. In this video, we examine how that bargain reshapes what can endure on Earth. This landscape looks like a desert, yet its defining force is rain. Along Brazil's Maranhão coast, the national park protects more than 150,000 hectares of dunes that fill with thousands of temporary lagoons. The contradiction begins below the sand. A less permeable layer slows the water, so seasonal rain gathers in the hollows instead of draining away. After the rainy season, lagoon levels usually reach their peak. In the dry months, evaporation shrinks many pools and erases others. This is not a fixed desert with water added to it. Rain and drought repeatedly rebuild the routes, shorelines, and usable ground. Atlantic winds drive sand inland and push the dunes forward. Channels close, firm crossings loosen, and familiar passages shift from one season to the next. Crossing this ground, therefore, depends on local knowledge, not a straight line. Water points, stable sand, and changing routes decide what remains passable. Communities at the park's edges combine fishing, farming, livestock, and visitor transport. Their work changes with the same cycle that reshapes the interior. Some lagoons retain fish, others receive life through temporary links to waterways, or through biological cycles adapted to the dry period. No single label can hold this landscape. Sand does not remove the water, and water never fixes the dunes in place. For residents, movement and livelihood depend on reading that handover correctly. A route that worked months earlier may no longer carry the same weight. There are no permanent lines across a surface that keeps moving. Endurance comes from timing, memory, and practical adjustment rather than forcing the dunes into place. Lençóis Maranhenses breaks the usual idea of a desert. Its water is temporary, and its dunes keep moving. Life persists by moving with the water before dry months return the ground to sand. Tokyo's jurisdiction reaches into an active volcanic caldera, roughly 360 kilometers south of the capital. Fewer than 200 people share the island's narrow habitable ground. Sawagashima is the exposed summit of a volcano, with a younger volcanic cone nested inside its outer caldera. Steep walls compress roads, homes, and fields into scraps of usable land. The ground does not merely frame life here, it sets the timetable. Steam escapes from vents called hingia, carrying heat that residents use for cooking and heating facilities. That practical use of volcanic heat reveals the island's bargain. The same earth that restricts settlement also supplies energy no ship has to deliver. In the 1780s, a series of eruptions brought heavy loss and forced the community to evacuate. Permanent settlement resumed only decades later. That return did not defeat isolation. It made isolation a condition managed one forecast, crossing, and shipment at a time. There is no naturally protected harbor and no airport. A small ferry depends on the swell, while a helicopter offers only limited seats. Bad weather can delay passengers, food, and basic supplies. On an island, this small wind over the sea reaches directly into kitchens, workshops, and daily plans. Roads twist through abrupt slopes. Tunnels cut through rock, while agricultural terraces hold the little soil that the caldera allows. Coexistence here depends on precision. Warm ground, uncertain transport, and scarce space form one working map. Residents must read three forces at once: the sea for movement, the wind for timing, and the ground for heat. A mistake in one can tighten every other limit. On Aogashima, infrastructure is a three-way negotiation among rock, weather, and water, with daily life fitted into the remaining space. Ocean trade pulled Valparaiso upward when the coast offered almost no level ground. Valparaiso is compressed between a narrow port strip and dozens of Pacific-facing hills, forcing streets and transport to reject a conventional grid. The lower strip holds the port, markets, and main avenues. Above it, stairs, passages, and overlooks carry daily life up steep slopes. Historic hillside lifts answer the same physical problem with machinery. They bind elevations where ordinary roads cannot impose simple order. The terrain did not prevent global importance. In the 19th century, Valparaiso prospered as a shipping stop between the Atlantic and Pacific. Then the Panama Canal opened and reduced that traffic. The port had to carry the weight of a changed maritime map. The boom had drawn sailors, merchants, and immigrants. Their influence remained in mixed architecture assembled on narrow plots. Wood and corrugated metal were adapted to difficult parcels. Construction followed the hill because the hill would not move. UNESCO recognized the historic port quarter for precisely this bond between maritime infrastructure and hillside urbanism. The city's identity rests on that working connection. Since murals continue the same habit of adaptation, they occupy retaining walls, facades in daily routes, surfaces already carrying the strain of the slope. Color is not separate from infrastructure here. Art enters stairs, walls, and passages that residents use to cross sharp changes in height. But the slopes also concentrate pressure. Fires advance through ravines, earthquakes test vulnerable housing, and aging lifts can deteriorate when maintenance falls behind. Every weakness matters because elevation shapes ordinary movement. A failed link can turn a short horizontal distance into a hard vertical detour. Valparaiso's character is not laid over the hills, it is the daily work of crossing them. Two small temples occupy a summit where bare rock offers almost no room for human construction. Around them, Fanjingshan reaches nearly 2,600 meters, its metamorphic peaks standing apart from southern China's more familiar karst. The mountain belongs to Guizhou's Wuling Range, but elevation is only one source of pressure. Long isolation protected an unusual geological and biological refuge. UNESCO recognition rests on that geological history and the ecosystems it kept apart. Forests hold exceptional plant diversity and species with extremely narrow ranges. Among them is the Guizhou snub-nosed monkey. Isolation made room for life that could not simply spread elsewhere. The mountain keeps that refuge under hard control. Mist can erase direction, rain can strip grip from stone, and ice can close the route altogether. Against this pressure, the ascent is not a conquest. Near vertical stairs are fixed directly to rock, giving each foot only the space the mountain permits. The best-known section climbs the Red Cloud's golden summit. Two small temples occupy separate rock promontories, with a narrow bridge binding them across the gap. This is architecture reduced to essentials: steps, anchors, walls, and a crossing. Every piece answers slope, exposure, and limited ground. Fanjingshan is sacred in Chinese Buddhism and closely associated with Maitreya. Temples and monastic remains show how pilgrimage turned physical strain into spiritual discipline. The climb gives that tradition a physical form. The body must slow before the mind can seek calm. Cloud, rain, and ice still set the timetable. Human intention may begin the climb, but the mountain decides whether it continues. At the summit, faith occupies only the ground that cloud, ice, and rock leave available. Here, isolation was not an obstacle to construction, it was the reason to build. Above the Thessalian plain, rock pinnacles rise more than 400 meters, carrying monasteries on surfaces barely wide enough to hold them. Meteora began with sediment laid down by ancient river systems. As the ground rose, water, ice, and wind cut channels through conglomerate and sandstone, leaving separate towers. Medieval Christian hermits first used caves and cavities in the rock. The cliffs offered distance, but not comfort. By the 14th century, political instability made that difficult access more valuable. A major monastic community took shape above the plain. At its height, Meteora held 24 monasteries. 6 still function, preserving a life built around deliberate separation. Before modern stairs and bridges, removable ladders climbed the rock faces. Ropes and hoisted nets carried people, food, timber, and tools to the summits. Every load worked against gravity. Every repair began as a transport problem. With no broad road and almost no spare ground at the top, even a small repair required another hoisted load. That difficulty served a purpose. It protected the communities and controlled how often the outside world could enter. Yet silence depended on labor. Lifting water, maintaining paths, moving wood, and securing buildings to rock that erosion still wears away. Churches covered with frescoes, refectories, and small gardens occupy the narrow crowns. Faith needed walls, food, water, and constant maintenance. The cliffs restricted ordinary life and made a disciplined spiritual one possible. The isolation was never empty space. It was an engineered boundary, raised load by load until geology, work, and belief could endure together. Individual ambition on Everest depends on a city built where the ground itself will not stay still. Each main season, base camp rises nearly 5,400 meters above sea level, directly on the rock-covered ice of the Khumbu Glacier. It is not a permanent settlement. Tents, kitchens, medical areas, communications gear, and stores are assembled to support one narrow window of climbing. Every load carries a long chain of effort. Equipment and food fly to Lukla, then move for days through places such as Namche Bazaar by porters, yaks, and helicopters. Thin air taxes every link. Climbers and workers must gain altitude gradually, because haste can bring severe mountain illness and exhaustion before the upper route even begins. From this shifting camp, the route enters the Khumbu icefall. Its blocks and crevasses keep changing as the glacier presses downhill. Specialist crews known as icefall doctors turn that movement into a temporary passage. They fix ropes and ladders, inspect the line, then rebuild it when the ice shifts. This is the hidden engineering of Everest. Not one permanent structure, but constant repair under low oxygen, cold, and unstable footing. The same pressure reaches back into camp, moving Ice Force's crews to adjust tent platforms and paths beneath kitchens, clinics, stores, and sleeping areas. Cooks, guides, doctors, weather teams, and communication staff keep the temporary city working. A summit attempt advances only because many smaller duties hold together below. Then come the wider strains: avalanche exposure, accumulated waste, and a warming glacier. Each one bears down on infrastructure that was never truly stable. Everest sets a limit on individual ambition. Every ascent depends on collective crews reading ice, air, and weather, even as warming changes the map beneath them. Sigiriya turned a single natural rock into an instrument for controlling water, movement, and sight. Nearly 200 meters high, the monolith became the core of King Kasyapa, the first fortified capital in the 5th century. Strength here does not begin at the summit. It starts on the plain, where symmetrical gardens organize arrival before the climb steepens. Ponds, channels, and fountains draw on stored rainwater, gravity, and pressure. Water had to be held and directed through the dry season. That hydraulic work was not decoration. It made an exposed royal center function where height complicated every delivery. Higher up, rock gardens fold natural boulders into pavilions and narrow passages. The terrain controls pace and direction without being cleared away. Gallery passes frescoes and the polished mirror wall. Over centuries, visitors left inscriptions there, adding later voices to a route shaped by royal authority. The final ascent once passed between the monumental paws of a brick lion. The surviving claws mark the point where movement tightened before the summit. Above them stood palaces, cisterns, and platforms. Height delivered defense and command over the plains, but demanded raised materials and reliable water. This is engineering as political force. Every channel, stair, gateway, and constricted path turns the climb into a lesson about rank and access. The builders did not remove the landscape. They used the monolith slope's edges and exposed crown as working parts of the capital. After Sigiriya ceased to be a capital, the site returned to monastic use. Its purpose changed, yet the rock still set boundaries for daily life and belief. Sigiriya's capital was brief, but its surviving works reveal how power was staged by controlling the route, storing rain, and making geology carry royal authority. Adaptation has a limit. The avenue of the baobabs became more visually powerful as much of the forest around it disappeared. Near Morindava, 2 rows of endemic Adansonia grandadieri rise as high as nearly 30 meters beside a dirt road, remnants of much wider tree cover. Their size is not excess. The broad trunks store water, while seasonal leaf loss reduces moisture demand through the marked dry season. This endurance is built into wood and bark. Some of these trees have remained for centuries through repeated dry seasons and major changes in the surrounding land. Farming, fire, logging, and expanding settlements broke the original forest into pieces. The surviving baobabs now stand apart, exposed rather than protected by isolation. The dramatic spacing hides a cost. A mature tree can remain monumental even while the conditions needed to replace it are weakening. Regeneration depends on more than old trunks. Flowers, pollinating animals, seed dispersal, seasonal water, and viable ground must still connect. Isolation changes the ecological task. Keeping old trees upright is only the first step. Young baobabs need a functioning landscape around them. The road also serves local people, and the surrounding land carries farming as well as seasonal flooding. Conservation cannot simply separate nature from livelihood. The area now carries protection as a natural monument. Yet legal status cannot stop every fire, repair damaged roots, or restore altered water flow. Young trees still survive at low rates. The avenue can therefore look stable even when replacement is failing. Protection has to manage the ground, not just preserve the silhouettes. Fire, water, roots, and new growth decide whether the avenue remains alive. The remaining trunks prove how precisely life can adapt to drought. Their isolation proves that endurance alone cannot rebuild a forest. More than 21,000 kilometers of frontier works carry one name, but they were never one wall. The official inventory counts walls, branches, and ditches, along with natural barriers from different states and dynasties across more than 2,000 years. This was not a single command carried across a continent. It was accumulated work, repeatedly extended, altered, and abandoned as borders shifted. Near Beijing, Ming sections carry brick and stone. Farther west, builders pressed earth, gravel, wood, and local vegetation into the line. The material changed because distance set the terms. Builders had to use what the ground supplied, then make it withstand wind, rain, and time. Across the mountains, the root grips ridges, seals valleys, and directs movement towards fortified gates. The slope itself performs part of the barrier's work. Hauling material into remote mountains could demand as much effort as raising the wall. Every added height first required food, animals, roads, and human endurance. Watchtowers and beacon towers pushed warnings along the frontier through smoke, fire, and other signals. But a signal mattered only if another staffed post received it. That exposed the wall's hidden machinery, garrisons, horses, supplies, paths, and administration. Masonry without that support was only a hard edge on empty ground. The barrier also narrowed movement through unstable borderlands. Gates could channel trade and travel, while officials decided what crossed and under whose authority. Geography became a form of government. A ridge offered height, a valley offered a narrow passage, and distance itself slowed movement. Today, heavily restored sections can look permanent. Elsewhere, rain, wind, farming, and the removal of building material pull older stretches back into the terrain. The wall's deepest measure is therefore not length alone. Across centuries, power reached these ridges only when stone, soil, slope, supplies, and human labor could be held together. A waterfall can preserve a nation's memory while its water keeps cutting away the rock that holds it. At Godafoss, the Skjalfandalfjall drops about 12 meters across a basalt arc, nearly 30 meters wide. The river begins in highlands linked to Vatnajökull's glacial system and crosses ancient lava fields before reaching this ledge. Its force arrives from far beyond the falls. Here, water divides around rock projections and small islands, forming several separate currents. Their force and color shift with meltwater, rain, cold and light. During stronger flows, foam can hide much of the dark basalt. In winter, ice and snow grip sections of the banks, changing where water can pass. Yet the rock is not a fixed frame. Water exploits fractures in the basalt, loosens material, and slowly alters the lip of the drop. The record is physical, volcanic rock, moving glacial water, and an edge that changes as material breaks away. But another record rests here, carried by a name that means waterfall of the gods. It links Godafoss to Iceland's official adoption of Christianity around the year 1000. Tradition says, the law speaker Eogir Logir Losvetningagudi threw pagan images into the falls after that decision. The act cannot be verified as literal history. Its importance lies in why the story endured. A major political and religious change was fixed in collective memory by attaching it to a place already ruled by water and rock. The legend does not compete with the geology. One explains how the ledge changes. The other explains how a society remembered change. Godafoss holds both records at once: water cutting basalt in the present, and a people making change endure by anchoring belief to a river that never holds one shape. Fortress here was not raised on rock, it was cut out of the rock itself. Ushisar's volcanic tuff pinnacle rises about 60 meters above nearby ground, turning compacted ash into Cappadocia's dominant lookout. The stone began as ash from the volcanoes of central Anatolia, rain, wind, and temperature shifts, then worked it for millions of years. They opened valleys and fairy chimneys, but they also left a material soft enough for human hands to cut. Rooms, stores, stairs, chapels, pigeon lofts, and shafts were cut directly into the mass. Each chamber removed stone while adding another use. No single plan created this castle. Different communities altered it over long periods, following the rock's strengths and faults. The choice was radically economical. The mountain supplied wall, roof, and thermal insulation before any separate building material was carried uphill. Small openings reveal rooms behind thick stone, with rock serving as enclosure and insulation. Higher chambers watched routes and valleys across great distances. At the base, passages and rooms once linked the pinnacle with homes below. Storage, worship, lookout, and daily shelter occupied the same geological body. That concentration turned height into leverage. A limited footprint could hold many functions because construction moved inward instead of spreading across the slopes. Yet the engineering advantage carries its own limit. Tuff yields to tools, and for the same reason it keeps yielding to weather. Erosion widens cracks and weakens passages. Some unstable sections must be closed, because preserving Ushisar cannot mean pretending that its rock has stopped changing. Ushisar holds history through continual adjustment. People read the stone closely enough to make geology serve as home, refuge, and record. But nature retains the terms. The mountain that protected generations must now be protected from its own slow transformation. A lake persists where the desert should have erased it, held inside a bowl of moving sand. Just a few kilometers from Ica, dunes roughly 100 meters high surround water and vegetation in one of Peru's driest regions. Huacachina began with groundwater, rising into a natural depression. That small opening allowed palms, huarango trees, and reeds to take root where rainfall offers almost no margin. Water did not defeat the desert. It created a narrow foothold within it, and every part of life here still depends on that limited reserve. During the 20th century, the oasis became a bathing resort, then a tourism hub. Hotels, restaurants, dune vehicles, and sandboarding routes gathered around the lagoon. That growth brought work and infrastructure, but it also exposed the cost of concentrating demand around a fragile water source. Regional groundwater extraction reduced the lagoon's natural recharge. Controlled additions are now needed to support its level. The green center may look self-sustaining, yet engineering and water management help keep that contrast intact. The dunes apply a second pressure. Wind repeatedly changes their profile and drives sand toward roads and buildings, forcing the community to maintain boundaries that never stay fixed. Here, construction is not a final victory over terrain. It is repeated labor, clearing access, protecting structures, and adjusting to the next shift in sand. At dawn, humidity and shade ease the surface heat. By midday, the hard contrast returns, and water demand carries more weight. The famous image conceals a bargain. Tourism depends on the lagoon, while the lagoon now depends partly on deliberate human support. Huacachina endures because people do not treat water, sand, and settlement as separate forces. Its future rests on reading all three closely and accepting that adaptation here never ends. Rain, forest, and a sheer cliff leave Sumela almost nowhere to stand. At around 1,200 meters above sea level, Sumela rises several hundred meters over the floor of the Altındere Valley in Turkey's Black Sea Mountains. Tradition places its foundation in the 4th century, although much of the surviving complex grew under the Empire of Trebizond and in later periods. Its builders did not clear the mountain to make a conventional monastery. They packed chapels, cells, kitchens, stores, and an aqueduct around a church cut directly into the rock. That arrangement was more than a feat of construction. It turned the cliff itself into foundation, wall, protection, and a strict limit on every room. Movement had to follow the slope. Forest paths, steep approaches, and stairs controlled entry before the narrow, vertical enclosure could support worship and daily work. Isolation did not mean complete disconnection. The position remained within reach of old routes through the region, while distance and height provided a natural defense. For monastic life, the same difficulty served another purpose. Reaching the rock church required effort, and that physical separation reinforced the discipline of contemplation. The mountain, however, never became passive. Frequent rain feeds the forest and streams, but it also pushes moisture into masonry, wears rock, and loosens the slope. Modern restoration therefore extends beyond painted surfaces and old rooms. Crews must stabilize the mountainside itself, because preserving Sumela means managing the ground that carries it. Layers of Christian frescoes remain inside the rock church, held within a complex that has absorbed centuries of expansion, weather, repair, and changing use. Sumela converts physical hardship into spiritual discipline. Faith gains seclusion only by accepting the cliff's limits. Architecture entered the rock, and the difficult approach became part of spiritual life. empty canyon space becomes structural support at Las Lajas. Nearly 3,000 meters above sea level, a bridge joins the walls of the Meteora Gorge and carries the sanctuary. Las Lajas stands near Ipiales and the border with Ecuador, where the plateau breaks into a wet, narrow gorge. The site leaves almost no level ground for a major church. That constraint became the design. Arches span the gap, while towers and spires rise from dark rock where a broad foundation was impossible. The current neo-Gothic basilica rose over more than 3 decades, with the main work ending in the late 1940s. Much of the long effort was funded by believers from the region. Before it, smaller chapels had already marked the gorge. Devotion had formed there in the 18th century around an account involving Maria Mueces, her daughter Rosa, and a revered image on Canyon Rock. The rock was never a backdrop. It became the fixed point around which builders, pilgrims, and generations of belief organized the site. Reaching the sanctuary still requires a descent from the plateau. Paths and stairs carry pilgrims, traders, and visitors from both sides of the border down into the gorge. With every descent, the mountain controls the pace. Steep grades compress movement. Damp air grips the masonry. The river keeps pressing below. Waterfalls and currents run down the dark rock, so no ceremony is sealed from the canyon. The sound, moisture, and slope enter the experience whether the building welcomes them or not. Faith remains fully exposed to the terrain. The architecture does not erase the gorge, it depends on it. Sit's bridge carries more than a basilica. It makes cliff, river, and belief structurally inseparable. Atlantic waves do more than carve this cave. They make its basalt chamber resonate. Sit's columns formed nearly 60 million years ago, yet every tide still changes the sound and slowly reshapes the rock. Fingal's Cave opens on uninhabited Staffa in the Inner Hebrides, off Scotland's Atlantic coast. The island has no protective harbor. That exposure controls access. Clear skies cannot calm heavy swell, which can prevent any landing. Immense lava flows laid the foundation. As basalt cooled, it contracted and split into polygonal columns with an almost engineered regularity. The ocean then found weaker joints. Repeated pressure widened them until a long, high chamber opened inside the island. Water did not finish when the chamber formed. Incoming waves drive a deep resonance along the basalt walls. Gaelic preserves that defining feature in the name Uambin, the melodious cave. Its note shifts with tide, wind, and the volume of water inside. Light follows the same moving surface. Reflections enter, break across wet columns, and retreat as the water rises and falls. The column pattern leaves a natural ledge along one side. It resembles a built passage, but wet basalt and Atlantic surge control every step. The cave's force comes from this union. Rock shapes sound, water shapes light, and weather governs access. After visiting Staffa in 1829, Felix Mendelssohn translated the encounter into the Hebrides Overture, turning geology heard in motion into culture. The same force that creates resonance keeps wearing the chamber down. Fingal's cave is no finished monument. Its structure and acoustics remain under pressure. On Staffa, basalt is never experienced alone. Atlantic water, weather, light, and sound keep remaking the chamber. Here, a mountain stronghold survives with almost no fortress buildings, only a rock pinnacle and a staircase cut into its upper wall. Skalavanten Durg rises nearly 700 meters in Maharashtra's western Ghats, directly beside the broader fortified plateau of Prabalgad. The route begins near Thakurwadi, then climbs toward Prabhamachi, a mountain settlement where the slope steepens and open ground falls away. From that point, distance matters less than control. The trail narrows, the stone turns uneven, and hands become as important as feet. Near the top, steps cut directly into the rock carry the route upward with little protection. Each placement must be deliberate. This is the fort's defining structure. The staircase follows the existing pinnacle, turning the rock itself into the rote. The monsoon changes every calculation. Green growth and temporary cascades spread across the slopes, while wet rock, mud, mist, and storms reduce grip and visibility. The dry season applies a different pressure. Heat builds on exposed stone, and scarce shade turns pace and water into practical limits. Brute strength matters less here than balance, concentration, and restraint. Prabhamachi is the last settled pause. Beyond it, both hands belong to the climb. The summit opens sightlines across Prabalgad, reservoirs, valleys, and routes toward the coastal plain. Only then does the shape of the terrain become clear. Every ridge and drop narrows the possible route. The ascent forces the body to follow that geography step by step. The final view may seem like the reward, but Kalavanten Durg makes the labor inseparable from what the summit reveals. On those irregular steps, endurance is measured in restraint. Every movement must answer rock, weather, and height. Salt, steep rock, and lake water compressed Hallstatt into a strip too narrow for an ordinary town. For more than 4,000 years, Hallstatt has occupied a narrow strip between the Hallstätter Sea and the steep Dachstein Massif. That constraint shaped the village long before it became globally famous. Houses were stacked on small terraces, while docks, lanes, and churches competed for the remaining ground. The lake was not simply scenery, it became working space, carrying materials and food when the slopes made land transport difficult. Salt gave this settlement its long economic base. Mining inside the mountain supported trade and specialized labor from prehistoric times onward. Wood had to move uphill, mineral had to come down, supplies had to cross either steep ground or open water. Those repeated movements tied architecture to work. Compact homes, landing places, paths, and religious buildings filled the few surfaces the mountain allowed. Archaeological discoveries here gave their name to the Hallstatt culture, associated with a central phase of Europe's Iron Age. Even St. Michael's Chapel records the shortage of space. Its compact memorial chamber preserves names and family memory within sacred ground that could not keep expanding. The deeper story is continuity under pressure, not untouched beauty. Each century reused the same narrow ground, lake access, and mountain routes. Recognition by UNESCO in 1997 acknowledged the wider value of this cultural landscape. Today, however, Hallstatt receives far more visitors than its permanent population. Narrow streets, homes, and local services now carry pressure their builders never designed for. The postcard view hides two pressures, fitting life into the Alps, then protecting that life from global fame. Lake salt routes and steep building grounds still operate as one system. Global fame now tests whether that system can remain a home. Adaptation reaches city scale at Petra. A desert capital survived by learning exactly where water would strike. The narrow Seek runs for more than a kilometer, and the same passage that created a monumental entrance could also funnel sudden floods toward the city. The Nabataeans chose this sandstone valley at a crossroads linking Arabia, the Mediterranean, and the Levant. Caravans carrying incense and spices brought wealth, travelers, and constant demand for water. That demand turned canyon walls into working infrastructure. Dams checked the floods, carved channels, and ceramic pipes redirected the flow before it could overrun the settlement. Cisterns and reservoirs held the captured supply through long dry periods. That reserve supported households, animals, gardens, and the caravans on which Petra's influence depended. The treasury commands attention, but its facade is only one part of a far larger city. Hundreds of carved chambers, sanctuaries, homes, quarries, and a colonnaded street filled the valley. Carving was only the visible skill. Builders also had to read slopes, faults, runoff, and sandstone before placing walls or cutting drains. The rock set the limits, but it also supplied the structure. Each cut joined architecture to drainage, turning exposed terrain into a capital. Rome incorporated the Nabataean kingdom in the early 2nd century, and Petra later absorbed Roman and Byzantine changes. The waterworks remained the city's hidden foundation. Trade eventually shifted, while earthquakes damaged buildings and channels. Petra's urban importance faded when the roots and infrastructure that sustained it could no longer carry the same load. This is why Petra cannot be reduced to facades cut into red stone. Its greatest achievement was the disciplined control of scarcity. The Nabataeans did not stand outside the desert or force it aside. They turned slope, runoff, and sandstone into the exact terms on which a city could endure. These earthen walls endure because they are never allowed to become finished. Several story blocks of mud and timber withstand hot days and cold nights only because rain and snow damage is repaired again and again. Taos Pueblo is not the art district of the nearby town. It is a sovereign, Tiwa-speaking, indigenous community at the foot of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Sits two great adobe compounds, Tlawuma and Tlauquima, rise on opposite sides of the Pueblo River. Stepped walls, wooden beams, and earth roofs carry several floors. The historic core has remained inhabited for many centuries. It is both a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a United States National Historic Landmark. Adobe gives the buildings thermal mass against sharp swings between daytime heat and nighttime cold. But Earth does not preserve itself. Weather steadily wears the surface away. New mud must be mixed, carried, pressed, and smoothed onto the walls through repeated community labor. The river, farmland, and mountain ground are not a backdrop to the settlement. They shape the physical limits within which Pueblo life continues. Modern installations remain restricted in the historic area, and some ceremonial spaces are not open to visitors. Those boundaries keep ceremony from becoming public spectacle. Blue Lake carries that control into the wider territory. Its return to the Pueblo in 1970 was central to cultural continuity. Workshops and trade belong to present-day life, but access is never automatic. The community decides when to receive visitors, when to close, and what must remain private. Tradition here is not a sealed exhibit. Identity stays active because work, land, and authority still meet. Taos Pueblo endures not by freezing adobe in time, but by renewing walls and boundaries together. Here, continuity is built from earth, choice, and repeated hands. Heavy rain, earthquakes, and a knife-edge ridge dictated the plan of Machu Picchu. Built in the 15th century at about 2,400 meters, Machu Picchu occupied a steep Andean ridge exposed to heavy rain, unstable soil, and earthquakes. The obvious response would have been to cut the summit level. Instead, the builders divided urban and farming sectors around the mountain's existing shape. The terraces were not decoration, and they did more than create fields. Layers of stone, gravel, and soil carried water away, held the slope together, and slowed erosion. That hidden structure mattered because rain could turn added weight into pressure against every plaza, stairway, and wall. Drainage kept the ridge usable. Spring-fed channel delivered a controlled flow through a sequence of fountains. Beneath open ground, concealed drains stopped water from saturating the stonework. Granite came largely from the site itself. Blocks were cut to rest together without mortar, leaving them able to make small adjustments when the mountain shook. That choice required discipline. Rock, water, and slope became the measurements governing construction. Mist rising from the Urubamba Basin marks the meeting point between mountain and cloud forest. It also signals the moisture the city had to manage. That pressure has not disappeared. Conservation now depends on controlling routes, humidity, and visitor loads placed on infrastructure built for a far smaller scale of use. Massive stone seems to explain endurance here. The stronger achievement lies below the surface, where hidden drains keep gravity and rain from taking control. The ridge's most durable architecture is an agreement among terraces, drains, stone, ceremony, and gravity. After 8 centuries of silence, a crack began creating new ground within reach of Iceland's capital. Following weeks of earthquakes, a fissure opened near Fagradalsfjall in March 2021, the first eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula in 800 years. Basaltic lava continued for about 6 months. At first, it remained inside Geldingadalur Valley. Then its volume grew, crossed natural barriers, and entered neighboring depressions. Geology here was no longer a record trapped in old rock. The peninsula was changing drainage and routes in real time. Scientists answered with cameras, sensors, and sampling points. They tracked gas, flow, and ground deformation because each shift could change safe routes. Authorities adjusted footpaths as the lava and wind changed direction. Access remained possible, but it never made the ground predictable. Sulfur dioxide could collect in low areas, and the weather could shift quickly. A dark crust might look firm while hotter rock remained below. That contrast matters. Human control here did not mean stopping the eruption. It meant reading gas, wind, heat, and terrain fast enough to keep routes aligned with conditions. As the lava cooled, it built black crust, tubes, fractures, and new relief. Those forms redirected local drainage and fixed the eruption into the peninsula's physical map. Life will return on a much slower clock. Mosses and microorganisms will begin colonizing the rock, but that recovery will take generations. Fagradalsfjall collapses the distance between human time and geologic time. Land usually treated as permanent was assembled layer by layer. Yet new ground creates new uncertainty. A reactivated volcanic peninsula must continually revise paths, measurements, and assumptions as heat hardens into terrain. Every hardened flow becomes the next map and the next uncertainty. Drainage and routes must be read again before any road or settlement treats the new ground as permanent. Saviation, road traffic, a border, and a city converge on one narrow strip at Gibraltar. At Gibraltar, roughly 1,800 meters of pavement occupy a narrow isthmus where aviation, road traffic, a border, and a city all compete for ground. The runway stretches east to west between the bay and the Mediterranean, with part of its footprint reclaimed from the sea. There is almost no spare land around it. The sea lies beyond both ends, and the rock rises beside the runway. For decades, Winston Churchill Avenue, the main road towards Spain, crossed the runway itself. Barriers stopped vehicles whenever an aircraft took off or landed. Since 2023, a tunnel has carried vehicles beneath and around the eastern end. It removes much of that direct conflict, but it does not create more land. The airport remains locked into a compact border zone. Aircraft, vehicles, pedestrians, and border controls still have to work within the same narrow ground. The rock adds pressure that concrete cannot remove. It changes airflow, helping produce crosswinds, turbulence, and cloud as weather shifts. Pilots and controllers must read those changes against a relatively short runway and sea at both ends. Timing and weather limits become operating facts, not background conditions. Overwrap demands precision. Gibraltar cannot separate each function across a wide plane, so it sequences them inside a confined corridor. The tunnel is the clearest example. Instead of widening the isthmus, engineers redirected the road beneath and around the runway's eastern edge. This is extreme infrastructure measured not in size but in coordination. On nearly 1,800 meters of runway, aviation must work beside roads, border checks, wind, and rock. Every safe movement here is scheduled around another. Aircraft, roads, border controls, wind, sea, and rock all claim the same strip. The way I see it, the future of extreme places will depend less on overpowering nature than on reading its limits with discipline. As climate pressure grows, that lesson will shape where civilization can still build, belong, and endure. Explore the next frontier in this series, where human ambition again meets the hard limits of the land.